This video is going to be a look at Mike Macdonald's gutsy, and some would say crazy, 4th and 6 blitz call with 2 minutes left in the Ravens' 20-10 win over the Chargers in Sunday Night Football. Of course, it resulted in Arthur Maulet getting a free run to the quarterback. I've affectionately called it a glitch blitz here for the purposes of this video, primarily because it is a glitch in some way. It takes advantage of the normal pass protection rules of the offensive line. We're dropping out 2 D tackles in a zone drop situation. I will possibly refer to it as a zone blitz throughout this video, even though, as you can see, as the play develops, you've clearly got a man relationship to each of the 4 stand-up receivers. And then additionally, I think Patrick Queen is assigned to the running back. So there's a man coverage element to this with underneath help by the defensive tackle. So if I do refer to it as a zone blitz, that's why I'm referring to that defensive tackle. Both defensive tackles dropping out. People are surprised by it. Yes, I guess on some level you can be, and I should be as well, that it's used on 4th and 6 with 2 minutes left. But it actually matches the exact situation that Mike Macdonald likes to use this blitz. I don't know what it's called, but I know he's been using it for the better part of 2 years. This is week 1, 2022 against the Jets. Pierce's forced fumble out in space against the tight end. Unfortunately for us, not recovered by the Ravens. This view from the end zone angle, I think, gives you a great clarity of the nature of it. You can only bring this blitz from the nickel side because that's where you have the surplus DB. I shouldn't say you can only. That's generally what Mike Macdonald is doing. In this case, the nickel happens to be Marlon Humphrey. Oweh, when the running back shows up, is going to go inside of the running back. So he clears the path for Marlon Humphrey. You can see both D tackles, Calais Campbell, Michael Pierce dropping out. I have no idea what it's called. I wish I knew, because I'm sure it's got some interesting or funny name. Just so you know, defensive coordinators and players or coaches in general try to name things such that players won't forget it. It's a defensive call, but it's a play. Kids, people, athletes don't forget their play. The running back never forgets the name of the play when they get to football. And if you name a blitz hamburger or cheeseburger or Taco Bell like Buddy Ryan did back in the 60s with the Jets, you're going to get memory recall. I don't know what they call it. I wish, if you know, please let me know in the comment section. I just know it works. This is week 5, Arthur Maulet on the sack. You can see Madubuike, Pierce are both dropping out. This is a 2-by-2 formation, which is a little different than the one that we saw against the Chargers, because it was a 3-by-1. Keenan Allen motioned over, but you do have inside out help from the dropping D tackles. Pierce consistently gets his eyes out to the receiver to try to get in windows, whereas Madubuike and even Broderick Washington, for whatever reason, are not as quick to get out there, number one. Number two, they're not as quick to turn and look at the receivers and get in those windows. Huge hit by Maulet on Kenny Pickett. Most of the instances of this are on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. The one against the Chargers was 4th and 6. If you look at, this is the way, part of the way that offensive coordinators or whatever would look at coverages. When do they play them? Do they play them on 1st and 10 from the negative 30-yard line? Well, no. Mike Macdonald's not going to play it. It's a possible rundown. He's utilizing this blitz, this coverage, by the way. This is late 2nd quarter against the Colts. You can see, again, Madubuike, Pierce dropping out. Consistently, Pierce is going to be opening, turning, and looking to get underneath of receivers. You've got a wheel developing by the running back, who is assigned to be guarded by Queen. And Geno Stone, kind of underrated here, is doing a great job in the middle of the field. A, being responsible for 3 to the trip side, and B, reading the quarterback's eyes, looking to help out if this wheel is thrown. Now, it's going to be a long way to go for Geno Stone to get there, but what I'm telling you is there's a high level of awareness on these plays to what we're vulnerable to and what we're not vulnerable to. Because of the D tackles dropping out, someone like Geno Stone, assigned to play man on 3, can comfortably ignore that for a moment because he has this help underneath to potentially get in the window of a throw over the middle of the field. Conceptually, this is very similar to Stick's Blitz 0, if you ask me, except it's predetermined who's dropping out on this particular call. It's the 2 D tackles. Another 3rd down against, this is 3rd and goal, I should say, and look at Pierce trying to jam up number one from the other side. You do get a target here that potentially could be completed, but Geno Stone gets a quarterback hit on Gardner Minshew. The Colts had tremendous trouble with this blitz, particularly on third downs, as you saw from the forced fumble that Kyle Hamilton had. 2 of Hamilton's sacks came on this exact blitz call, if I recall. Week 9, one thing that's anomalous about the usage of it on that 4th and 6, I should say, is that typically Macdonald is using this early in games when he does use it. When I say when he does use it, it's usually once or twice per game at most. It's typically early in games like you saw against the Jets in 2022, like you saw here, I think first possession against Seattle. Kyle Hamilton is the nickel blitzing off the edge. Because we're blitzing Hamilton, we can now match up with 3 stand-ups with our 3 DBs to that side. Again, there's a little bit of a zone element here with the D tackles dropping out, but when you have trips or 3 by 1, it's going to be man. It has to be man. There's no other way to guard it with the amount of people that we're blitzing off the edge and who we're dropping out in terms of defensive tackles. Now, other zone blitzes that look more like a zone blitz we've used this year, I would just tend to call these 3 deep, 3 under. Week 1 against the Texans. But notice the down and distance when we're using these. 3rd and long, 3rd and 7 plus, I guess I should say. This is the amazing play by Queen over the middle against the tight end as C.J. Stroud gets flushed out of the pocket. You get the end zone angle of this one. One way to tell whether it's absolutely a zone drop or potentially a man call with some help underneath is we're dropping the boundary side outside linebacker. You won't be able to tell, and neither would I, during the game live necessarily, but on rewatch or if you look at the All-22, that clearly tells you that this is a zone drop relationship for Oweh and whoever the guy is that's hot to over on the other side. So a little different zone blitz than the one that, we're talking about. This is another one. I think we've got a little bit of an issue down here to the bottom side. You can't match up to 3 unless the guy who's middle of the field is going to help out to that side. You can see the potential exists for a late completion to Njoku in week 4, which the Browns hit us on 3 times in the rematch in Baltimore. So credit to them for being able to adjust the game plan and recognize those things might be open on 3rd and long, like this one is, 3rd and 12. One more, and then we'll go back to the play against the Chargers. We're not blitzing the nickel here. We're blitzing Queen from the field, essentially taking over the nickel's blitz. And you can also see that we're not dropping out any of the D tackles. We're dropping the boundary side outside linebacker, spinning down the safety to the field. That tells me this is a 3 deep, 3 under zone relationship. Also, a fantastic job. I think this is Darby to the top side. The number 1 receiver has gone under, so he just gets work from the far side of the field, 3 vertical, which is Pickens. To me, Mike Macdonald's defense is not just when Mike Macdonald calls the blitzes and how the guys execute them with the blitz up front. It's the way that they recognize what is potentially available in terms of a route being run by the offense and the recognition that they demonstrate in the middle of the play, reading on the run, pattern read, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the element to me that puts this over the top is the preparedness that the guys have for the situation. You can see a 3rd and 11, great drop by Roquan out of here. We're not zone dropping a D tackle, so this is a different element I would offer to you that's just 3 deep, 3 under, but you got man on the outside, which is okay to be involved in when it's 3 deep, 3 under. Man here, this is a zone turn with his back to the sideline. These 2 guys are dropping down to be hot 2 to the curl flat side, to each side, I should say. Getting back to the one against the Chargers, was it surprising to see it used? Yes. Myself and a Twitter friend named Marvin Davis had just finished categorizing and labeling a bunch of Ravens coverages. And for the video that I created last weekend, I didn't address any of the zone blitz stuff. I had it prepackaged and organized, just felt like the video got going on too long, so I didn't let it run at all. And then lo and behold, Sunday night, he uses a zone blitz concept, even though we're clearly in man, up top here, and then to trips, and then backside on 1, we're clearly in man. It's a zone blitz concept, freeing up Arthur Millette off the edge. When I say that it's a glitch, it's because on some level you've got to deal with the stand-up defensive end. In this case, it's Owe being dealt with by the left tackle. Queen is also blitzing directly into the guard. They've occupied the center with Pierce. When I say that this is conceptually similar to Sticks Blitz Zero, it's the same exact thing the Miami Dolphins did to the Ravens in 2021 on Thursday Night Football. The only difference is those guys on the inside or the interior for the Dolphins, they were reading it. 2 or 3 guys were reading the offensive lineman, and if the lineman stepped to them, they were peeling back. This is predetermined. It's like a play. It's a play that Mike Macdonald has installed. You've seen just in this video multiple guys be the nickel blitzer. Hamilton, with 2 of his 3 sacks against the Colts. Week 1, 2022, Marlon Humphrey was the blitzer. Millette had a sack against the Steelers. Queen, I think, one game this year. I want to say it was week 4. It looked to me like he replaced Blitz the nickel. I'm not sure why. I couldn't find that play when I was trying to do this video for you guys today. Was I surprised to see it? Yes. Looking back on it now, it fits the situation. Could a quarterback, Justin Herbert, and his receivers and players, could they be prepared for it? I don't think so, because it seems like Mike Macdonald uses it so sparingly that when he does pull that card out of his pocket, it's perfectly played. It reminds me of a card player who's stashed some cards, up their sleeve, and he's able to pull this one out and utilize it at the correct time and get pressure on a quarterback like a Justin Herbert, who's athletic enough to escape and move around and extend things, but not when you have an athlete like Arthur Millette coming off the edge. The awareness level, the speed that our guys are playing at, clearly, however, they're practicing these things on a daily basis. It's been installed, obviously, for over almost 2 years at this point. However they're practicing them, however they're repping them, and the DBs covering up things that seem to pop open late, it's just amazing. It's fun to watch. It's awe-inspiring because the guts that it takes for Mike Macdonald to call these things, I think, from his standpoint, is probably a little easier than it would be for some of us because he trusts everybody on that defensive side so much, and you can't blame him, especially the way they played Sunday night. Appreciate you guys' time. You guys let me know what you think of me talking about the glitch blitz that I just showed a handful of times here, and then some other somewhat related zone blitzes that Mike Macdonald's used to great effect in 2023.